Year three, week nine, find a way. All right. Let's get back to another DNS address. Week nine is complete, and this week was not about style points. This was not about box scores. This was not about everybody looking pretty on film. There was one thing we have to talk about, and that's finding a way. South Florida, Georgia Southern, Troy, Old Dominion, Texas State find a way. We even had Army intercept 4 passes and somehow lose a football game when the opponent only had 10 points. College football remains a complete national sport. I don't know if we're rational, though. This is Find a Way. Let's get into it. Our headline of the week is South Florida just made another statement. Number 19, Memphis, came to South Florida, and the Bulls absolutely handled them 49-14. This is now 6 straight wins after starting year 3 0-2. Remember that because it feels like a different season now. South Florida is 6-2, and heading into next week, they've moved up to number 8. The quarterback room was interesting again. Julian Lewis only attempted 8 passes and threw 2 interceptions. Then Evan Holliday stepped in and gave the offense a spark. 3 passing touchdowns, nearly 300 yards, and suddenly the Bulls started pulling away. The biggest offensive weapon this week was Iverson Howard, 20 carries, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns. Terry Shelton added another monster receiving day with 150 yards. South Florida has now beaten number 4 Texas A&M. They've beaten number 19 Memphis by 35. The resume is getting stronger, and that 0-2 start, ancient history. Next, at Charlotte. Troy pitches the shutout. Number 20, Troy travels to South Alabama. Their final was 38-0. Yes, 0-0, not even a pity field goal. Waldrop was steady. Farrell went over 100 yards on the ground. Palmer scored, and this one belonged to the defense, though. 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and Jaxon Smith returned one of those interceptions, 29 yards for a touchdown. Troy improves to 7-1. They moved to number 16 in the rankings. Think about where this team began. Beaten Clemson, beaten Bama, getting crushed by Ohio State. Then responding by stacking win after win after win. Now 7 victories, a defense that just pitched the shutout. Louisiana Tech comes to Troy next. Georgia Southern wins with a kicker. James Madison went to Statesboro. Georgia Southern wins 29-14, and this week the hero was not KJ Towers. It was not Cam McHale. It was not one of the running backs. It was the kicker, Tripp Bryant. 5 field goals. Yes, 5. 3 of them were beyond 50 yards. The longest was 56. That man had enough leg this week to qualify for frequent flyer miles. The offense moved enough. Todd scored. Bradley scored. The defense responded with 8 sacks, forced a fumble, and when drive stalled, Tripp kept cashing in. Georgia Southern improves to 7-1. That is 7 straight wins. And next week, the Eagles have climbed to number 12. Remember when we were saying rank them? Well, they did. And now they keep climbing. Next is at Coastal Carolina. Old Dominion keeps winning. Missouri came to Old Dominion. ODU wins 42-28. The Monarchs improved to 7-2. And yes, John Valero scored again. 3 touchdowns, another 130 rushing yards. The reigning Heisman remains right where he belongs in the conversation. Timmons added another touchdown as his backup. Ricky Burns accounted for 2 scores through the air and added 52 yards on the ground. The defense recorded 4 sacks. Old Dominion has now won 5 straight. Remember the back-to-back losses to Ole Miss and Washington. That feels like a turning point now. Instead of spiraling, they responded. Now they sit at 7 wins. ODU gets a bye next week. Probably well-deserved. Texas State stops the bleeding. Texas State entered week 9 with a very simple goal. Stop losing. After starting 5-0, the Bobcats dropped 2 straight. Boise State, then UCLA. Now they travel to San Diego State. Texas State was able to win 35-30. Not perfect, but exactly what they needed. Risling accounted for 3 touchdowns. Compton rushed for 126 yards. And then, because apparently running back was not enough, Compton also returned a punt 65 yards for a touchdown. Sure, why not? The defense added 2 interceptions. Texas State improves to 6-2, and the important part, the losing streak is over. Now they can breathe again. Fresno State comes into town next. We'll see how they do. Army somehow loses this game. We need to talk about this one. Tulsa beats Army 10-7. 10-7. Army's defense intercepted Tulsa 4 times. 4. And still lost. Let that settle in. Daniel Bray went over 100 yards rushing. Godspeed almost had 2 and scored, almost did 2 and scored Army's only touchdown. The defense did its job. 4 interceptions, 10 points allowed. Normally, that's a win. But Army kicker Craig Rodenhauser missed 2 field goals, one from under 30, another from under 50. Those 6 points suddenly look pretty important in a 3-point loss. That's a brutal one. Army falls to 4-3. Next, Air Force at West Point. Perfect week for a rivalry game. UAB's winning streak lasted 2 weeks. Rice beats UAB 26-16, and the Blazers fall to 2-6. But James Ingram deserves some recognition. 25 carries, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. He gave UAB enough production to stay competitive. The problem, the passing game gave them absolutely nothing. Nate Rogers threw for 29 yards. 29 yards and 2 interceptions. At some point, James Ingram might want to submit a request for additional assistance. UAB had won 2 straight. The streak is now over. Navy comes to Birmingham next. Mississippi State loses another heartbreaker. Florida beats Mississippi State 14-12. 2 points. That one hurts. The defense held Florida to 14. The run game produced. And once again, turnovers were the problem. Coolidge threw 3 interceptions. Another week, another 3. Mississippi State falls to 2-6. This has become the reoccurring theme of the season. The defense keeps giving them opportunities. The offense keeps giving possessions away. Next, at Tennessee, and this is not enough margin for error to tell. Our stock-ups this week, South Florida with 6 wins. Another ranked opponent handled convincingly from 0-2 to number 8. That is one of the biggest recoveries in the country. Georgia Southern, 7 straight, now number 12. They just proved they can win when the offense is not explosive. Troy, 7-1, a shutout. Back inside the top 20. Old Dominion, 5 straight wins, 7-2, and John Barillo continues building his Heisman resume for year 2. Our need more film this week. The United States Army's special teams, really just West Point special teams, not even the United States Army's, the Army special teams. If the defense gives you 4 interceptions and only allows 10 points, you have to win. That one's gonna hurt. UAB's passing game, James Ingram rushed for 202 yards. The quarterback threw for 29. That equation is difficult to survive. Mississippi State's quarterbacks, 3 more interceptions. We have officially used every polite way to describe this. The Bulldogs have to protect the football. Our Week 9 honors, our Offensive Player of the Week is Iverson Howard from South Florida. 195 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 35-point win over number 19 Memphis. It's a big performance in the big game. Our Defensive Player of the Week is going to be the unit of Troy's defense this week. 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, a pick 6. Most importantly, 0 points allowed. This is the definition of complete. And our Special Teams Player of the Week, we don't get these. Kicker Tripp Bryant from Georgia Southern, 5 field goals, 3 from beyond 50, 56 being the longest. When Georgia Southern needed points, Bryant delivered them. Our Heisman watch, there is no change in the top 2. Our Built Not Given award this week goes to Georgia Southern, not because this was the flashiest win. It was not. This is exactly why they get this. Championship level team eventually have Saturdays where the offense is not lighting up the scoreboard. So what happens? The defense gets 8 sacks, the kicker has 5 field goals, and you still win by 15. Georgia Southern now has 7 straight wins, and this week proved they do not need one specific formula to win. Sometimes you blow somebody out, sometimes you survive, sometimes your kicker decides he's Justin Tucker. Whatever it takes, it's built, not given. Week 10, look ahead, number 8, South Florida at Charlotte, 6 straight wins, and can South Florida make it 7? Number 12, Georgia Southern at Coastal Carolina, 7 straight. The Eagles are climbing. Now they have to protect that ranking on the road. Louisiana Tech at number 16, Troy. Troy is 7-1. Everything is still in front of them. Old Dominion on their bye, 7-2, and riding a 5-game winning streak. Not a good time to recharge for them. Fresno State at Texas State. The skid is over now. Texas State starts stacking wins again. Air Force at Army. This one needs no explanation. Service Academy rivalry. Army coming off a brutal 3-point loss. Perfect way to play physical football. We expect it. Navy at UAB. The Blazers try to get back in the win column, and considering Navy's offense, possessions are going to matter. Mississippi State at Tennessee. The Bulldogs are 2-6 at this point. Every week feels like survival mode. Number 3, Georgia Tech at Stanford. Georgia Tech enters 8-0 and is currently number 2 in the standings update. With this Stanford matchup still on the slate, another opportunity to protect an undefeated season. And Eastern Michigan at Sacramento State. Sacramento State enters 6-2, another chance to keep the Hornets firmly in the postseason picture. Week 9 was about finding a way. South Florida found a way to turn 0-2 into 6-2. Georgia Southern found a way to win with 5 field goals. Troy found a way to erase an opponent from the scoreboard. Old Dominion keeps finding ways to feed John and stack victories. Texas State finally found a way to stop the skid. And Army found 4 interceptions. They just forgot to find 3 more points. That happens. But the bigger picture is becoming very clear now. Georgia Tech remains undefeated. Georgia Southern has 7 wins. South Florida has 6 straight. Troy is 7-1. Old Dominion is 7-2, and Sacramento State is sitting at 6-2. The postseason races are tightening. The Heisman race is taking shape, and every week from here matters more than the last. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be pretty. You just have to find a way. In the Department of National Selection, you select, we collect, built, not given.